everyone, it's Jo here from Time for Tea Designs. I hope you're really well. Today's video has been inspired by our brand new beautiful blender brushes. This pack of 5 blender brushes all have our amazing rainbow coloured handles, something that I have been dreaming of bringing to you guys pretty much since we brought the very first blender brushes to the store. So my card has been very much inspired by these rainbow colours, and who doesn't love a rainbow? Particularly now when we're looking for a bit of sunshine, I think, in our lives, because we're over the winter. So I'm just showing you here that the brushes that are in the pack are the same size as the large blender brushes that we already bring to you. So they work perfectly well with the pink blender brush and the black blender brush, which will then complete your set. So if you already have some of these in your collection, then that's great. These are a great addition to your existing brushes. What this will mean is that when you come to blend with your inks, you will know exactly which colour brush that you should be using. You're not going to have any mix-ups and transference of colours when you come to apply them to your project. They're absolutely beautifully soft, that amazing, dense, soft white bristles that you've come to expect from Time for Tea Designs brushes, but they also have these adorable and beautiful handles in these bright rainbow colors, which I just can't get enough of. Like I say, I've been dreaming of bringing this pack to you for such a long time, and now it's finally here. So that's one of the new products that I just wanted to share with you. And the other products that we've brought to the store at the same time are these sequins. So we have the clear sequins, the silver sequins, and the bright gold sequins, which are the perfect addition, the perfect neutrals to add to any of your projects. There's something that I've been wanting to get into the store for a while, and I've been looking for exactly the right size and colours that I wanted to bring to you. So they're brand new in store. We also have some brads as well to bring to you. So this is a mixed collection of brads. In the pack, you will get a selection of silver, gold, and then multicolored. And the multicolored section, you will get 2 of each color, and you will get 20 gold and 20 silver. So again, these are perfect for all of your interactive cards that we've brought to you recently, and some that we plan to bring to you in the future. So for example, for your seesaw dies that we brought to you in one of the recent releases, these brads are the perfect size for using with those. So today's video was recorded during our Facebook Live last week. So sorry for the delay in bringing this to you. It's been a busy old weekend, as always, here at Time for Tea. So I'm now going to show you some of the products that we're going to be using in today's project. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be using the Up and Away stamp set, which is a really adorable set, and I think really does invoke spring feelings for me. So that's why I wanted to use that for this project. I'm also going to use the slimline die, which is the slimline scalloped frame die. So this has the scalloped slimline die, but also has these different frames that sit within that. So it's a really great die set to have in your stash. I'm also going to be using this stencil. So the stencil is our Scene It stencil, but you could also use our Sunny Side Up stencil to create our background. I have some of our super smooth alcohol marker card as well. And I've got a DL card base. So because we're working with slimline dies, our DL card bases that we have in the store are the perfect size to use for all of those. So I'm first of all going to cut out my background with this scalloped die. So I'm just placing that onto the alcohol marker cardstock. And the reason that I'm using this cardstock is because it is super, super smooth. So when it comes to your ink blending, it is absolutely perfect for that. So now my background is cut out. I just want to show you some of the detail that is on here. And you can see there that there are just some little dots that are pierced into the scallops around that die, which I think is just a really, really pretty touch. I've changed my mat now to it's basically a placemat from IKEA actually, but it's great for doing ink blending on because it means that it protects my other mat, my craft mat, and is easy to wipe once we've applied our inks to it. So here we are, the first use of our green blender brush, and oh, it honestly, it is so smooth and it's so easy to get a good blend. You have to try them, they are amazing. And I'm just applying my green ink a little way up from the bottom of my my die cut piece, because that's where the area where our little windmill is going to sit. So I was just making sure that I'd done that high enough up for that to cover the ground. And I'm now going to use the Scene It stencil, and one of the edges, well, all of the edges of this, 3 out of the 4 of the edges, sorry, are a cloud pattern or shape. So I'm using one of those to create a cloud design on my background using my yellow ink with my yellow blender brush. And to clean that off, I'm just using a little bit, using my microfiber towel. And here I'm using a, it's a car chamois actually that I'm using to clean my stencil in between uses. So that's a really handy tip if you are looking for something quick and easy to have at hand on your craft table to clean off your surface areas. Moving on to my orange now. So I'm working my way through the rainbow, as if you couldn't have guessed, because we're using rainbow brushes. So I'm moving on to the orange, and I've moved my stencil around so that my pattern will be different. My pattern of clouds will be slightly different. And then I'm applying that orange ink. And I'm going to work my way up, just making sure that I've got enough room for all of the colours that I'm planning on using. And then where there's a little bit of too much white, I'm adding some more of that yellow ink. Moving back down to the grass, I'm filling in that white area again, just with a bit more green, because now I know where that first cloud pattern is going to be. And cleaning off my stencil again in between use, so that I don't transfer any of that ink to the clouds that I've just ink blended. Moving on to the worn lipstick, and I have sped this up quite a bit. This did take a little bit longer in real life, but it is such an easy project to do, and the amount of fun that you'll get from making this rainbow with these clouds, because it's made so much easier with these brushes. You can go straight back in onto your surface with that brush, knowing that you're going to get a perfect blend every time. And that's because of the curve of those bristles. So beautiful. I think the purple brush might be my favourite. I don't know why. I do love purple as a colour in general, and I love how this wilted violet looked. Don't forget, you can use your brushes for different shades of the same colour. So I can use all of my purple shades with that purple brush. I can use all of my blue shades with my blue brush. All you need to do is wipe them off with a microfiber towel in between. You can wash them if you wish, just using some warm soapy water and let them dry naturally. But to be honest with you, the more ink there is on them, the more seasoned they become, and the more the ink transfers to your project. So I don't wash mine typically. So here you can't really see because my hand was off screen as I'd raised my mister quite high. I'm spraying some water droplets onto my background and then just using some tissue to pick up the excess. Moving on to stamping my images. So I've used that same piece of alcohol marker cardstock that we used for our background die. And I'm now going to stamp out my images with my Memento Tuxedo black ink. And I'm using my stamping platform to help me get those lined up, because I do actually stamp this twice just to make sure that I get a really crisp and clean impression. So I'm also going to stamp my windmill image with some masking paper. So I'm just using the stamp itself to help me figure out how much of this masking paper I need, because I don't want to use it all and it doesn't all fit into my stamping platform. So I'm just lining that up, and again just using some of that same ink, but you could use any ink really for this, because all we're using it for is to mask our image underneath. So I've just given that a quick stamp. It doesn't have to be perfectly stamped, you just have to have enough of an impression to be able to see the image that you need to cut around. So I'm using the top portion of it just to cover up the windmill and the sky beyond, and then I'm cutting out the little path because I want to cover the path up, and I'm going to ink blend around the path with that same green that we've used on our background. So I'm just fussy cutting that out, and then I'm going to take that away from the backing, which proved to be a little bit of a struggle because we'd cut it really close, and just popping that over my path. And that means now that when I come to add my inks along the bottom, they won't go onto my background. I am going to die cut my image, but there will be parts of the image that we die cut that you will see the grassy area. So I want to make sure that that is the same colour as the background that we've already ink blended, and everything blends in really nicely. So it's a really easy and quick thing to do. And when you reveal what's underneath, so when you take the masking paper off, you've got that really lovely crisp line where the masking tape has been. And that just looks amazing. So now we need to colour the rest of the image. So I've swatched out a few colours of green. So I'm using slightly darker shades of green here to colour in the trees around the outside. And a few different darker colours of green will just add a little bit of contrast to the bottom of our image here. You can see that I've laid down my lighter colour first to saturate my paper, and then I'm just going in with a second darker shade just to add a little bit of definition. I'm not doing anything more than that, nothing too complicated. So I did zoom in at this point because I thought you would be able to get a better view if I just got a little bit closer so that you can see how I'm applying the colour now to the little pathway. So I'm using a combination of my E40 colours, so E40 up to E43, I believe, just to make that look a little bit like a stony coloured pathway. And again, nothing too complicated, just applying a little bit of shadow around the bottom portion and where the pathway is in the background, that's a little bit darker. I want to use the same colours that we've used in our background. So I want to replicate this rainbow effect and keep this a really bright, fun and cheerful card. So I'm using the blue that is in a similar shade to the blue that we've used in our background for the windmill panels, we couldn't quite decide what they were called. So for us, the sails of our windmill, maybe. And the windmill itself, I'm doing in yellow shade. So I tried a few different shades of yellow. This was quite a bright yellow and a little bit more acidic than I wanted initially. So I do come back a little bit later and add a bit of a warmer yellow over the top of that. I've made the door and the roof in a really nice purple that hopefully coordinates quite nicely with the wilted violet. It was the closest shade that I could get within the markers that I'd got. And then again, the closest shades that I could find from my pinks were the I think this is the R20 to 22 shades. But for the most part, I think I'm just using 2 shades of each colour to create my my image. Moving on to my hot air balloon and the little bunnies. I love this image. It's such a cute image and it's such a lot of fun to colour. And because this is going to be in our sky, then I'm using colours that don't appear in the sky so that they don't blend in completely. So I'm using the colours that are in the bottom half of our background, the greens, the yellows, and then the orange will be our transition colour between the two. This is a different colour scheme to one that I would perhaps normally have used, but because it works so well with our background, it's really nice to try something a little bit different, and it works so well. Each of these colours work really well as part of where they're positioned on the colour wheel, so using the blue as the contrasting colour also works really well. So if you are thinking about what colours that you want to use for colouring your images, then having a colour wheel to hand and using colours that are either side of the main colour that you're using or opposite is a really good way to work. I'm using a little bit of a tip-to-tip technique there because the contrast between my lightest and darkest shade of green seemed to be quite dramatic, and I wasn't happy with the way that blended. So using the tip-to-tip technique really does help get a mid-tone colour when you've got that big gap between the two colours that you're using. We had a little bit of a debate about what colour I was going to colour my my little bunnies here, and I ended up using it was I think it was the E000 I used to lay most of the colour down for the bunnies. And I apologise that this is a little bit low down in the screen. I didn't realise that I'd come off camera because we'd zoomed in, but I do pull the image up a little bit later on. But we decided in the end that the grey bunnies would work really well. So I've kept that lighter E shade right in the centre of our bunnies there, and to create a little bit of colour on one of the bunnies' bellies. But then I've used the warm grey shades to colour in the majority of their bodies. And that, I think that contrasts really well with the browns that we've used in the basket and on the pathway. Once all the grey has been blended in, I'm using the E93 marker just to add some colour to the ears and the noses and to each of their cheeks. I'm using the coordinating dies now to cut out all of my images. So I'm just attaching those to the image with a little bit of washi tape, just so that they don't move around in my die cutting machine. And then I'm going to pop that through my Gemini. Once they're die cut, I can now think about that placement for our sentiment. And I did want that to sit in between the windmill and the hot air balloon. So that's now I've got that positioned on my stamping platform. I'm going to use my VersaFine Onyx Black ink to stamp that. And I remember before I stamped that out, just to move those images out of the way as they didn't need to be there. And then position that in place. And because the VersaFine is such a really good strong black, there was no need for me to stamp that twice. I'm using my background panel now just to position that onto my DL card base, and I do like to have a smaller border around my background. So I am going to trim this down using my paper trimmer. You don't have to do this bit, but as I like a narrower border, once I've lined that up on my paper trimmer, I'm just going to snip off the edges of the card base. So now I'm ready to assemble our card. So I'm using some of my liquid glue just to attach my background panel, and I'm popping that all around the edges, making sure that I'm getting as close as I can into those scallops, and then we'll just firmly apply that to our card base. I'm using lots of strips of our foam tape here just to get a really nice bit of dimension to my windmill piece. Remove all the backing from there, and then I can attach that to the bottom of the card, and that just fits perfectly over that green ink blended piece that we did in the beginning. Again, I'm going to use plenty of that same foam roll tape to apply to the back of our hot air balloon and to the little bunny, so that we've got a nice little bit of dimension there. So just removing the backing tape from that, and then we can pop that in the top portion of our card base or our panel. And I've done that on a little bit of an angle, so it looks like he's being swept away by the wind, which I thought looked really cute. Now, I did feel that my background needed a little bit of something extra. I did initially think that maybe clouds would be nice, but we've already got our lovely rainbow clouds. So in the end, I decided that a few of these little butterflies that are part of the set would just make the perfect little addition. So I'm colouring them in with my Copic markers again, and using the same colours that we used to colour our images before. So the same purples for 2 of the butterflies. The third butterfly I'm doing in a shade of green, again because that won't appear in the top portion of our background in the sky. So it will be a nice contrast to that background. And then I'm using some of that yellow to just colour in their bodies. There is a coordinating die that comes with this this little butterfly, which is perfect. It means that it's so much easier for you to get a perfect cut around these smaller images. So again, just lining that up really carefully and using some washi tape to make sure that doesn't move around. And then I'm using my mini die cutting machine to cut out these smaller images. You can see here, once they're cut out with that die, you've got the perfect little outline around each of those little butterflies. So cute. So I've positioned those on my background. You can see here that I did initially start with those additional clouds, but they weren't really adding anything extra, and they were covering up some of our rainbow effect. So I didn't want to do that. So in the end, I just went with the little butterflies on their own. And I'm using some of my liquid glue just to apply those flat to the background. So just dotting some of that in place and using my quick sticks tool to help me pick that up and stick that in place. And then the final, I suppose, bit of embellishment to our background was to add some of our clear sequins. So these are the new sequins that we showed you at the beginning of the video. And these are great because they do add a little bit of shimmer, or you know, they catch the light, but they don't pull anything away from the color behind. So again, it means that we can still see that lovely rainbow background that we've made, but then when they catch the light, that does just catch your attention, which I think is really nice. I've positioned them all the way down the background of our focal panel there. I'm just adding here some highlights with my Jelly Roll pen, which if you've watched my videos before, you know this is something that I love to do to all of my images, and is one of the last things that we do just to add a little bit of extra fun and highlight to each of those pieces. So adding that to the trees here as well just gives them more of that illustrative feel, which I really like. And then I will use my black glaze pen to really bring out the eyes. So it just adds a little bit more definition and shimmer to those eyes, makes them stand out. And that's the card complete. I absolutely love how this turned out. I really enjoyed making it. The fun rainbow colours at a time like this were exactly what I needed. It was such a breath of fresh air, and the blender brushes made making that background so much easier. So I really hope that you enjoyed our card today. I hope it's inspired you to work with the rainbow, and I do encourage you to check out our shop for the brand new brushes and these gorgeous sequins. Thank you so much for watching today. Please do join us on Facebook Thursday night for our usual live, and we will be back here with some more videos in the future. So if you don't want to miss those, then please do like and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you again for another video really soon. Thanks guys, bye now.